Hello, all Israel News viewers. I'm Oriel. I'm here with my good friend Levi from Discover Israel, Levi Tours.
Hey.
And we are here. Tell us actually where we are.
We're here on the hilltops of the biblical Ofra, which is mentioned as Ephraim in the New Testament. The Old Testament is mentioned in Ofra, which is the current local city of Taybeh, right next to Dir Jarir. It's about 13 kilometers north of Jerusalem, and it was considered as one of the security outposts for the tribe of Benjamin.
So guys, we're going to take you on a little journey now. We're going to discover this place that we're standing in right here. We're going to discover a church, right? A place of prayer that connects to Yeshua and Lazarus and his resurrection and how he escaped from one place to the other in this very land. Join us.
Here we are in the center of the city of Taybeh, the modern day city of Taybeh. It's about 13 kilometers north of Jerusalem, in the biblical homeland of the tribe Benjamin as well, who joined Judah further on. So let's take us all the way back to the Iron Age, 3,200 years ago. We had a prophet, a leader, a military leader called Gideon. Gideon is actually mentioned in this town called Ofra. And underneath where we're standing right now, and we can see some of the remains dating back to that time over here. There's a little water hole, some steps which are carved into the rock. We could see the remainders of the biblical city of Ofra. Now, Gideon was an incredible person. He wasn't just a political leader, but he was also a military leader and somewhat of a prophet at the same time. So a rabbinical leader, you could say, even today. And you can see how those two combine in a beautiful way. About 1,000 years later, 1,200 years later, there's a story of this man called Jesus in the land. And we see in the Gospel of John where this place comes back and it's referenced as a place called Ephraim. Now Ephraim, similar to Ofra, is a location mentioned in John when Jesus brings back to life Lazarus. The local Jews were not happy with his powers, not happy with the things that he was doing, and he became more of a suppressed figure, a chased after figure. So he escapes 13 kilometers from Jerusalem into this place called Ephraim, which is recognized where we're standing right now. So let's go in. What we're looking at right now, the ruins dating back from the Byzantine era. You can see some of the things are still here. Some of a monastery, which is built on top of the city of Ofra. You even have a little sanctuary room here where people would light candles. You can see the steps to a second floor that was here at one time. We have the columns and the capitals, which have been somewhat defaced and weatherized. We have a very simple mosaic here at the front.
So this is mosaic?
Yeah, well, you can see them scattered, the ones which are square on the floor like this. This was part of the mosaic floor. You could even see the original mosaic floor, which is over here. But over time it erodes and people build things on top. You want to build it?
We did our part. We restored
it a little
bit.
So this would be somewhat of the atrium. And finally, when we're walking into the church, you could see this quite impressive entrance where two doors would have been. You could see these 2 points where the 6 of the doors. And in the front, we have something called an apse, which is the direction of prayer. And because it's a monastery and a church, the direction of prayer would obviously be facing eastwards in the belief that Jesus' second coming will be from the Mount of Olives, which is east. There's other significant things. If we look over here, a big difference between a cross that they had during the Byzantine era and a cross that they had today. It kind of looked a little bit like a flower in sort of an X shape. So as opposed to the cross, which is more traditionally known. And so this is the original shape of the Byzantine cross. This probably would have been a baptism basin for kids. You would have put kids in here and brought them out. Here's another somewhat of a shrine. You can see a small, simple mosaic in front. And what's quite awesome about such places as this is that, you know, for the past 1,700 years, on and off, obviously, people have been praying in this spot. And even until modern day, people come here to pray. So, you know, an accumulation of thousands of prayers have so much power in these places in Jerusalem, in and around Jerusalem, inside of Israel. We can see the remainders of the arch, which would have held up a nice ceiling over here. We could see even a window, which you could have seen the second floor at the front. They have this saying here in Israel, is that a holy place stays a holy place even if it changes religion. And it's very true. So we have, originally Jewish places, which now we have mosques on top of, which sanctify Jewish stories. We have churches on top of places which are significant to the Old Testament in the Bible, which then sanctify those stories, such as the Mugracha on the Carmel Mountains, where Elijah, so Christianity wasn't, it wasn't around there, but still there's a church on top of there. And we can see on top of where we are right now, a church is on top of here. You can connect to the biblical stories by seeing the views that they would have seen, seeing the military strategy, the strategic military positions which they would have placed themselves, where many times God then intervenes and gives sort of different strategies of how to attack. And in the Bible, it specifies these tactics as a very important thing. So by standing here, we could understand why that would be the best thing, and that really can connect us to the Word of God.
Wow, it's such a spectacular place. I'm thinking about, everything that Levi is saying, that there's different war strategies, if you will. And Yeshua, you would think that, one of the things he did actually was to protect himself, not because he was afraid. He was fully willing to sacrifice himself, and that was where he was going. He was going towards the cross. But to know that sometimes the smarter thing, the wiser thing to do when you are dealing with these spiritual things, whether it's in the physical or spiritual warfare, sometimes there's different strategies that God will give. And for Yeshua, that one time after he resurrected Lazarus, he was guided by God to go somewhere else.
This is the same brush, the same thorns that the people migrating to Jerusalem for the 3 pilgrims, they would have seen these same things and foraged along the way, eating whatever vegetation they could, and had great knowledge of that, otherwise they wouldn't have survived. You can see I'm standing somewhat of a structure which has stones that have been put together. If we look over there, Oriel, behind you can even see a wall. Now this structured wall with small stones on big stones on both sides, and then filled in the middle. You can see throughout different periods of history, but specifically here we have from the early Iron Age, people settling here, the Middle Iron Age. So really, the Israelite, the biblical city, we are in the heart of it. And when we get to the top, we're going to see why there was outposts here and why this was a security line for a major city of Ofra. We have a water cistern to supply them with water for as long as they probably need. This is for drinking water because it has a roof and it's protected. If it was for agriculture, they wouldn't have to protect it as such. And people up here had to drink anyway. So this is done with mortar and things in the middle. So I'd show you this a little bit afterwards. And we're standing on the roof. We feel quite secure to stand on the roof of this thing, even though it's thousands of years old. They built pretty decently back then. Gideon, who is a prophet and a military leader, he comes here and he battles the Midianites. He has pretty tough battles. He managed to complete his battles, and then he sets up outposts for security outposts to make sure that his city, which comes off Ofra, is secure. So I'm standing on top of one of the security outposts, which is pretty cool. You still have the steps which are built here, and sort of the rooftop just across from us, you have one which is reconstructed, so you can kind of get an idea of how it would have looked in sort of a safe location. And yeah, so this would have been the agricultural fields just outside the city to supply the city with food, and it would have been the security outposts, which they would have done night shifts to make sure that nobody would attack. Also to make sure that the city was secure from, wild animals, and he'd have calls, so you'd have 24-hour shifts here. It would be pretty rough. You can feel the wind here, Oriel, can't you? At night time, it can get pretty cold.
Guys, this is spectacular.
Oh, it's cool, right?
Yeah. It's just, wow.
So here's a guard tower, which is also a storage room. You can see the size of the rocks at the bottom, which is recognized for other times the Second Temple about 2,000 years ago. And it's a structure with no mortar or anything put together, just a rooftop which has stairs going onto the top. So it was a guard tower and probably also a storage room for grains for the farmers in the area. So this was sort of the agricultural base of to supply the city with food.
You look at, let's just say, this land, it's been so battle torn. But we have the example of Yeshua, that he basically would be guided by the Father. And so he would go from place to place when he was guided. And so this is our encouragement to you guys, that if you are dealing with any type of situation where you're in any type of battle, either mental, physical, emotional, your life is in some kind of turmoil, the example that Yeshua sets is to come to it with prayer. So that's our encouragement to you guys, to come to these battles with prayer. It's important to say, we sort of stopped filming for a second because we're in a place where, let's just say, people like me, maybe people like you are not super welcomed. Our recommendation / warning, don't go without a guide.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
Pray and think before you go. But this day has been spectacular. Thank you so much, Levi.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure to discover the biblical roots with you, Oriel. It's just been an honor, and to relive what it says within the word. You can definitely feel godly presence here.
For sure. Guys, God is here, God is with us, and as always, if you want more Israel-related content, go to allisraelnews.com. Don't forget to hit subscribe and the notification bell, and we will see you guys in the next one.